Hey everybody, today we're going to replace this sink. We're going to replace all these parts under the sink, the trap, the valves. We're going to reuse this garbage disposal. We're going to put a whole new sink and faucet in this thing. So let's get started. We'll look, as you can see, this old trap, they got electrical tape under it. You can see water dripping. So we're going to cut all that out, and we're going to replace those valves behind it. These valves right here, you see these old gate valves. We're going to cut this copper off, replace all these valves. So I've already turned off the water, and you can see I undid the hoses already. So I already got started before I started filming, but make sure you turn the water off before you unscrew those hoses, of course. So we got the garbage disposals out. It's out on the floor there. So that I didn't disconnect the electrical. I just disconnected the drain that went to it from the dishwasher, and then the disposal itself. Here I'm taking the clips out from under the sink, and they're pretty simple to get out. You just unscrew them, and they fall and hit you in the face just like that. That's what they look like. So there's several of them around the perimeter of the sink. So those are the old ones. Got all those out, and now we're ready to lift the sink up out of there. Nothing holding it in anymore. And just like that, our old sink's out. Now you got a good view, see everything. Except we're going to replace. We got more stuff to replace there, but we'll get to that. Here I'm just doing a little cleanup. Whoever put the sink in before, they had put some plumber's putty under that edge of the sink, and so getting that off, getting this old trap cut off. We'll put an adapter on the top of that pipe and put a new trap and everything in there. So now I'm getting ready to go ahead and put these new copper stubs that you see laying here. We're going to cut the old copper out. You can see I got everything cut already to fit, and got this T here. Got my two verticals and all my parts. And there's the new valve sitting there waiting to go. So getting ready to do some soldering. So I got my torch, got all my tools. We're going to need to do the soldering, and we're going to put this new copper together. The first thing, you got to clean your fittings. Take your fitting brush and clean everywhere that it's going to connect to the tube. You want to clean it real good, scratch it up with that fitting brush. Same with the tubes there. You want to sand them, make them nice and shiny. Not only does it clean it, but it kind of scratches up and gives a place for the solder to bite into. Once you got it all cleaned up, then you take flux, and you put that flux in anywhere you want the solder to go. You got to put some flux. So everywhere on the fitting where a tube's going in, and the same thing with the tubes themselves on the exterior of the tube, you want to put some solder on there. Then once you got all the flux on there, and then you can go ahead and fit those all together and get ready to solder them on there with a torch, which we're going to do next. So I got my torch fired up, and we're going to heat that fitting. And once that fitting gets nice and hot, and we'll be able to put our solder on there and let it melt right into the joints. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to try to do one side of that fitting and then come back and try to do the other side. You want to put a fitting all at one time, which is what we're doing there. So there, we got it. And it's not the prettiest looking joints, but they work. They're watertight, so we weren't going for a beauty contest here. And it looks dirty there. We'll clean it up. We gotta let it cool. We're gonna let it cool on its own. While it's cooling, we're going and cleaning up the pipes that we're gonna cut off. So I find it's easier to clean them before you cut them. You could cut them and then clean them, but I like to get around it with that emery cloth. And then of course you got to turn the water off. Don't forget to turn the water off. You start cutting pipe without turning the water off, you're going to be sorry. I turn the water off. Then I just open up this laundry tub to drain the pipes that are in the house. So that's not any new water. That's just water that was in the pipes draining out. Then I'll go upstairs to the bathroom and open up the faucet up there, and so that the air, the vacuum, there's no vacuum in the pipes and the air clears out of there. So now we can go ahead and cut off what we wanted to cut off. This tube cutter I got, I think I need a new one. It takes me a little while to. It's pretty old, so it's probably about time to replace it. You keep spinning that. There's a spring in there with a blade, like a wheel, sharp wheel that cuts the copper. And they, every time they get old, and that one's old. That's why it's taking so long. If it was brand new, it'd go a little quicker, but we'll get it. Then of course, that's the cold supply line, then we'll cut the other side as well. You see 2 valves there because one's going to the dishwasher. So there's a total of 3 valves. Now before we go any further with the plumbing, I got this peel and stick floor tile. It's real cheap, less than $1 a piece. I'm going to line the bottom of that cabinet with these. Now, I wouldn't recommend these for flooring. I mean, that's what they're sold as, but I'm not a fan of them for flooring, but they work great under here like this. You can see I got the one piece already in there over where our pipes are. And now I'm going to go ahead and finish the plumbing before I finish putting those tile in, so I can turn the water back on so the customers have water. But we're doing the same thing. We're putting we clean them up real good, putting some flux on there, and then we'll solder them with the torch. Now you see I put a rag down around the bottom of the pipe there. That's so just in case any solder drips or anything, it doesn't damage that piece of towel I just put down. And I always, anytime I'm doing soldering, I always have a bucket of water nearby, just in case. You got to be careful. You don't want that flame touching the back of the cabinet and starting a fire or anything like that. So always be cognizant of where your flame is. And always be ready, like I said, with a bucket of water or a fire extinguisher or something. So we'll go ahead and solder both of those. I did that off camera. So those are both soldered in and done. Now we're finishing up putting our tile in the bottom of our cabinet there. And there it is with the tile, and makes a nice finish underneath the cabinet. And then, you're putting cans of stuff and bottles of cleaner or whatever. If it spills, it's not damaging the bottom of your cabinet. And there, the new valves are put on. They're just push to connect. And I got the dishwasher supply line put back together, and we got that adapter on our drain pipe. So we're about ready to put this sink together. So first thing I'm going to do, you can see it's not a double sink like it was before. It's one single. We're reusing the garbage disposal. So these parts, they were on the old sink. Make sure you don't throw your old sink away before you get everything off that you need. So we're going to take these old parts to the garbage disposal and put those in our sink. So you see this flange we have here, and I got some plumber's putty. I'm just making a rope with the plumber's putty. We put that around that lip of the flange, and that'll go up against the bottom side of the sink. You'll see that in a few minutes here. So just a nice consistent bead of plumber's putty, and it's ready to go in the hole. So stick that in there, and I always like to turn it. Those things have words on it. I always like to turn it so they're readable. Just it looks neater than being cocked and sideways and everything. Then on the underside of the sink, you put this cardboard gasket. These are all the parts to the disposal. You got that triangle, the bottom of the what I call the clamp, and you'll see why I call it a clamp here in a minute. The other part with the screws, the top part of the clamp. Then there's a spring type ring that goes on there. And I stopped the video. It's not real easy to get on. You gotta kind of fight with it a little bit to get it on there. But I got it on there, and then you tighten the screws, and you can see that flange moving. It's rising up, so it's tightening to the basin of the sink, and it's squishing that plumber's putty out. I'll show you that in a second here. There it is. See, it squished that plumber's putty out there and made a nice watertight fit and seal, and of course that's what you want in the bottom of your sink. You don't want no water getting through that gap, so that's what the putty does. So once that's on there, we're ready to put the spigot on, or the faucet. And this faucet is pretty simple. It's a single hole, not a whole lot of part, not much to it. And there it is. Just follow the directions, you can't go wrong. There it is. It's on there, and like I said, it was pretty simple. Just follow the directions, and you got that. So now we're about ready to drop this in and see how she fits. So I dropped it in there, and you can see me fidgeting around. It didn't quite fit the way I wanted it to fit. It wasn't fitting like it needed to fit. So we had to do a little trimming. So we trimmed it up. Now it's sitting in there the way we want it to sit in there, because we got to put these the clips back on. Those old clips that we took off the old sink underneath, we got to put those in there. Before we do that, we're going to I cleaned the edge up all around that hole, and we're going to put a little bead of silicone all the way around there. And what that does, if you spill water like on the cabinet, or you get water on the cabinet, or not cabinet, I'm sorry, the countertop, it's not going up under that stainless steel and leaking or causing damage to that raw edge that's been cut. So we're going to put a bead of silicone, just clear silicone, and it's a very small bead, very close to the edge. If you put too much, or you put it too, not close to the edge, it's gonna come oozing out, and it's gonna make a mess. So make sure it's close to the edge and not too much of it. So now we're dropping the sink in for the last time. The silicone's there. We don't want to pick it back up. So we know it fits because we already dry fitted it. We get it in there, and then now we're ready to put the new clips, which you'll see here in a second. If any silicone comes out, just clean it up before it starts to dry. There's our new clips, similar to the old ones we took out. Now these things are by far the most frustrating part of this whole job. You better have some expletives in your tool bag if you want to get these things in, because they are very frustrating. But you just keep at it until you get them in there, and there's several of them. I think there's about 10 of them on there. So now the sink is in, and we're ready to put our garbage disposal back together. See, I already put the drain line that comes from the dishwasher. I already put that back on. It just tightens up with this hose clamp. Once that's on there, then this collar on top, what we were calling that clamp, this thing, there's what we're calling the clamp. That collar goes on that clamp up there and spins and tightens up. Now, depending on how heavy the garbage disposal is, this may or may not be difficult. When you're reusing a garbage disposal, it seems like it's a little heavier. There's some sediment in there and some water and stuff, so it's a little heavier. But you just got to hold it up there, get that thing on there right. Then I always take a pair of pliers, and you'll see here in a second, I just squeeze it so it's 100% on there, because you can't totally get it with your hands. And there, it's on there. So I put a brand new trap on there, going from our disposal into our drain. And we're about done. We got new valves, new drain. Here I'm filling the sink. I always fill the sink, not full, but a good bit of water in the sink before I pull the plug and look for leaks. And there it is. There was no leaks. We got our new valves, our new copper, our new trap, and the new bottom of that cabinet covered with tile. And there's our new faucet, and everything works good. Nothing's leaking. And that's the finished product. Looks good. Homeowners are happy. I'm happy. Good job. All right, that's another job done. Thanks for watching.